Hello everybody, my name is Starrapter. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Star Wars Canon. If you're new to the show, every week I go over everything new that ties back into the movies. This could be anything from the TV series, the novels, the comic books, and the video games. And this week was jam-packed with new additions to canon. First off, I want to talk about video games. We have Star Wars Battlefront coming out with their last DLC. This is called Battlefront Scarif. So I'm going to give you guys a brief overview of what is included in this DLC. So first off, we have 4 new maps. We have the one space map called Shieldgate. We have other 32 player maps which include Scarif Jungle, Scarif Beach, and Platform 13. We also have a brand new mode called Infiltration, which is kind of like Battle Station. It's a different phased kind of mission. So you have the first one where you're in space, and if you're the rebels, you are outside of the shield gate on Scarif, and you have to control a U-wing to get through the shield gate. So basically there's 1 or 2 people that are assigned to U-wing, and if you aren't the U-wing, you are an X-wing that's escorting the people to the planet, and they have a bunch of TIE fighters. Obviously, if you're the Empire, you're trying to basically let these guys just run out of resources and run out of time, and that's how you win if you're an Empire. So then if you actually successfully go through the shield gate, then you go to Phase 2. And Phase 2 requires the rebels to plant charges on 1 of 2 different Imperial cargo ships as a distraction. So it's basically like you're planting this bomb, and you have to basically guard it and make sure that the Imperials don't, dismantle it. If you're the Imperials, your mission is to dismantle the bomb, again, trying to wait out the time limit. And finally, if the rebels do destroy one of these shuttles, then the final part of this game type is they have to get the plans, the data tapes. So it's almost like a capture the flag for the rebels. Multiple people can have different data tapes, and you have to get to the U-wing. Obviously, if you're Imperials, you're stopping them from doing that. And other modes that are actually supported with the Scarif DLC would be Walker Assault, Turning Point, Blast, and Fighter Squadron. We also have new vehicle power-ups. So if you are playing on the Scarif on the planet, if you're the rebels, you can actually get a power-up to be a U-wing gunner, and it's almost like an AT-AT power-up, really, where you're just like on this your turret, and it's a very powerful turret. You could just mow down soldiers, and in my case, I mowed down AT-AT on Walker Assault, which is pretty fun. And you also have, if you're the Imperials, TIE Striker power-ups, which is you basically just run over to these things and power it up, and it's basically a TIE Striker that just is AI controlled. You actually don't control it, and it'll just basically rack up kills for you. Other things in this DLC would include the new heroes, of course, both from Rogue One. First off, we have Jyn Erso. So Jyn Erso, her abilities are, first off, she has this weapon, this pistol that can actually transform into a kind of like a sniper rifle, kind of automatic rifle. She also has one of these sonic grenades that also damages, and it flashes people, so very useful. And she's got this baton that you see in the trailers, where it eventually gets powered up the more kills you get, so it could be a pretty potent melee weapon. But also, we have Director Orson Krennic for the Imperials. He's a very strong adversary. First off, he has his new type of weapon, which is kind of like a revolver. You have to reload it. It also has an alternative firing mode called Armor Piercing Round. That could really be powerful and pretty much one-shot everybody. He also has this other ability which summons an astromech droid, which uses Scan Pulse, but then there's a shield over top of that, similar to Leia Organa's shield, so very useful. And his last ability is he has this armor buff, so if there's any allies around him and he uses this, it actually gives you armor. And finally, what would Krennic be without his trusty loyalty Death Trooper? So yes, you could actually spawn as a Death Trooper as long as you have Orson Krennic in the field. The Death Troopers themselves are very powerful. They have a heavy blaster, they have a rocket launcher, and they have this overcharge ability, so you can just like freaking overdrive using this weapon to kill people. It's really fun. New weapons that I basically went over before, because both of these new heroes have them, is the A180 Jyn's blaster. So when you use this blaster, it actually replaces all of your power-up abilities. So one of them turns it into an ion blaster against vehicles, another one turns it into an automatic weapon, and another one turns it into a sniper one-shot. and it also has a pistol, of course, so very versatile kind of weapon to fit your kind of playstyle on the run. We also have the DT-29, which is Krennic's blaster. As I mentioned before, it's kind of a revolver. It's the only weapon in Battlefront that you actually have to reload. You know, it doesn't have a burnout overcharge. You actually have to manually reload this thing, so interesting. We also get this new star card. This is what Jyn Erso also has. It's called a Sonic Imploder or something like that. Very similar to a combination of a couple things. It puts out like a shockwave. It also blinds people, and it actually damages them a little bit. And finally, you can unlock the Scarif Trooper Squad Leader at level 100. Okay, so my overall thoughts on Star Wars Battlefront Rogue One Scarif were, I had a good time with it. I think it looks beautiful. You know, DICE went above and beyond with really making the levels in this game. I really appreciate another space level mission because we've all wanted that. The two heroes are really great, really effective. Some things I didn't like were in Walker Assault how you weren't versing AT-ACs like we see in the Rogue One trailer. They're just regular AT-ACs. I feel like they could have just scaled up the AT-ACs and put some yellow paint on the side and it would have been okay. Another thing I didn't like was the power-up for the TIE Striker. First of all, it didn't even look like the TIE Striker, so you didn't know what you were getting visually. And when you picked it up, all it does was make the AI fight like in the fighter. You couldn't even fight in the fighter yourself, which was very disappointing. I feel like they could have just reskinned the Snowspeeder in the game right now to be like the TIE Striker. Again, I'm making it sound easy. I'm not a game developer, but that was just my thoughts. I hope that this isn't the last DLC for Battlefront. I've had a lot of fun with this game. Maybe we can get like a little free update for Jeddah or something, but I know DICE is hard at work for Battlefront 2, which is coming out next year. And that wasn't all we have for Battlefront this week. We actually had the release of a Rogue One X-Wing VR mission. This is exclusive to you guys that own a PlayStation 4 and the VR virtual reality headset. So what exactly is this? It's a short little like demo-ish kind of game where you're playing a female X-Wing pilot. You're with the fleet, and next thing you know, you're getting called to assist and help escort this U-Wing Bravo 1 piloted by and voiced by K2SO, who has an urgent request to extract this prisoner. And you later find out when you're going to assist that this U-Wing's wings are stuck in a position where it can't go into hyperspace, so you're there kind of escorting it. Next thing you know, a Star Destroyer comes in and you're battling this thing, and it's beautiful because you're looking around and you can press all the buttons in the X-Wing. And it's just a whole lot of fun. And it's what I really liked is that this ties into Rogue One, a Star Wars story, unlike any other Battlefront multiplayer mode we've had. Obviously, this is a very narrative-driven VR experience where the rest of Battlefront isn't narrative at all. So I think it's really cool. This shows us that, you know, DICE is able to make these narrative experiences. Well, actually, I think this was made by Criterion, so maybe not DICE completely. But I would like to see where Battlefront goes in the sequel. So what are you guys thinking about Battlefront in general? Are you still playing the game? Do you plan on maybe picking up the Scarif DLC to get you guys ready and psyched for Rogue One? Because that's something it really did for me. Let me know in the comment section below. So that's it for video games. Moving on to TV. So we had another episode of Star Wars Rebels. This is episode 9 of season 3. Titled An Inside Man. So first off, I want to say yes, we finally got back to some meaningful episodes of Star Wars Rebels. As you guys know from watching the show, the last couple weeks I've really been disappointed with Rebels, but this definitely picked it back up. So a little overview of the story is our friends, our rebels, Canon and Ezra, they go back to Lothal. They're helping their friend Ryder Azadi, and he's saying that they have some of his people working inside the factory in Lothal, and they're helping sabotage a lot of their speeders and different things like that. And so they hear that there's like a top secret project, so Canon and Ezra, they go inside there and they try to infiltrate the place and figure out what the Empire is up to on Lothal. And of course we find out the identity of the other Fulcrum, and it's none other than Agent Callus, who's been helping the rebels since that season 2 episode where him and Zeb kind of became buddies on that ice cold little moon. So yes, there was a lot of character development in this episode. I'm going to talk about some things specifically that I enjoyed about this episode and Inside Man. So first off, I really like how we get right into the action. You see that Ezra and Canon are strong in the Force. They're helping Ryder Azadi on the speeder. They both have their lightsabers out. They're slicing ATDPs in half, you know, with their legs. It's really, really a good time. While they're there, though, we also see the evolution at Lothal. You know, it's definitely occupied by the Empire now. There is no doubt. You don't really see anybody on the streets. You see all these Imperial banners everywhere. Like, this is no joke. They got to do something to push the Empire out of here. Of course, what makes this episode great is the inclusion of Thrawn. And we see one of the most badass parts in Rebels that Thrawn has played in so far. So we see Thrawn literally making one of the factory workers test out the speeder that he knows that is sabotage, and in doing so, the guy actually dies. It's one of Ezra's friends, actually, from Season 1, one of those guys he helped to rescue. So that was really setting the tone for Thrawn. Like, he's not messing around. This guy's absolutely ruthless. Moving on to also what Thrawn was doing in the meantime, finding out about the art, about what's going on with this rebel cell. So we see all the things that he's studying. We see Sabine's paintings, you know, Kanan's helmet there, the Jedi Guardian helmet, and a picture of some kind of Sith, which I found really fascinating. So again, they're really hitting home the message that Thrawn is that intellectual enemy that is really going to see through the cracks to how these guys work. I want to talk a little bit about Kallus being Fulcrum. I think that this is one of the best things this season so far. I've been really hoping for this to happen. I had a feeling that this was going to happen ever since I mentioned that episode with him and Zeb on that ice cold moon. That really set the tone for, okay, you see him at the end of that episode, he's sitting there in that cell or whatever that room was, and he's just looking at that little glowy crystal thing, and you see he's thinking, and he's contemplating, what am I doing in the Empire? And this has been an ongoing thing with Canon, guys. If you've been following books like Lost Stars and all these other things like Aftermath, we're constantly seeing this brought up. Like, the Empire is not a great place. Maybe to the people that have been there for a while, it seems okay. But, you know, if you look at it hard enough, you find out that these people are evil and they're just absolutely terrible to work for. So it's no wonder why there's people that are leaving this place in droves. So I really, really like this idea of Kallus being there. But unfortunately, it looks like Thrawn is on to Kallus. Without a doubt, I knew it from the moment that we'd even know that Kallus was the spy, but they were talking about, he was talking to Governor Price, Thrawn was, about let's go check out the secret project room or something, and Kallus is like, let me tag along, and Thrawn's like, oh, we don't need your assistance. I knew right from the minute, like, okay. And at the end of the episode, they're talking to Thrawn again. I actually thought that Thrawn might be killing Kallus right there and then, but apparently there's a lot more stuff for Kallus to do in Rebels. I really like the character, and this brings a whole new layer that makes me really, really like this character more than a lot of others in the show so far. And finally, one little nugget of legends that was brought into canon this week is the TIE Defender, guys. And actually, if you want to be really specific, the TIE Defender was in Star Wars Battlefront, the Death Star DLC. Yes, so, but really, we see, and they don't even name drop it in this episode, they just show some schematic, and later on, Pablo Hidalgo on Rebels Recon, I think, did actually confirm that it is the TIE Defender. So yes, Rebels is that show that's really bringing all those legends, things that people love, into the thick of the canon, and I really, really enjoyed that. So I like this episode, guys. I think next week is the mid-season finale. We're going to see Darth Maul and Ezra. What is going to go on there? So let me know, what did you think of this episode, The Inside Man? Let me know in that comment section below, guys. And finally, the last thing in canon this week was Dr. Aphra #1. This is a new ongoing comic series written by Kieran Gillen with artwork by Kev Walker. So, if you guys remember, if you've read Darth Vader, there is a cliffhanger there, and this is spoilers for anybody that hasn't finished Vader. So, Dr. Aphra survives, alright? So, now this story follows her with what she's doing after leaving the Empire. So, first off, the story takes place on this planet called Cosmetanic Steppes, so it leads right off into Aphra doing what she does best, doing archaeology. and she's, you know, with her droids BT and 000 and Black Kirstenton's there, because Black Kirstenton still has a debt that she hasn't paid to him, so he's hanging around to get that money from her. She thinks she has an artifact that is pretty worthwhile. It turns out that the syndicate is after the same thing and wants the money like right away. So she's kind of being threatened by this guy. Next thing you know, his little henchmen are fighting Black Kirstenton, and next thing you know, the droid 000 basically like assassinates this guy for basically saying like, oh, I'm gonna bring you to the Empire and you'll know, Vader will know your secrets and all that. Well, he doesn't mention Vader, but anyway, she ends up taking care of him with 000. So after that, she has this really cool artifact, and she goes to the place to get the money, and they say, okay, you're not a doctor anymore, so therefore you're not getting basically any money for this. And she's saying, what? And then basically her father shows up and says, yes, I was the one that told this foundation or whatever, the organization that gives the money, I was the one that told them you're a fraud. And that's kind of where that story leaves off. But that wasn't all, because then we did get the short story that was written by, again, Kieran Gillen with artwork by LaRocca Salvador, who actually did Darth Vader, the artwork for that. So that was really cool seeing him do the sketches and that. And basically that story was a prequel a couple years before this that really goes over how she managed to get that doctorate degree that she didn't actually earn. So that was really cool seeing her go through this whole college years, getting the Aberson symbiotes to basically like fake that she was doing a big discovery with this scientist professor guy that ended up, you know, she ended up basically blackmailing this guy because he had these things that the Empire would have never allowed, and she kind of confiscated them and put them in this other place to make it look like she discovered them, basically. And that's how she got the degree, because it was a huge finding. But that was basically the gist of it. Positives I want to go over with Dr. Aphra number 1 was, first of all, great opening sequence. I really like the opening sequence, how we're following this person around getting this artifact. And I'm thinking it's Aphra the whole time, guys, because there's a person with this mask, steps outside, and boom, Aphra's there with a gun, shooting the guy, getting his artifact, hopping on the speeder, and getting the hell out of there. I thought it was really cool. Speeder was really cool, too. Also, I liked seeing the Gagorans versus Black Kirstenton. So Black Kirstenton's like basically an ally of Aphra only because she owes him the money. So anybody that threatens her is threatening him basically, because he might not get the money if she's dead. So he's kind of like her bodyguard for the time being, and he just freaking messes up these Gagorans. And first off, a little fun fact, Gagorans are those big furry white wampa looking things that are going to be in Rogue One. So again, we got a nice little Rogue One reference in there. Also, I really like the 000 assassin scene where he's going in and he's going to take out that guy that was basically threatening to put it out to public with Aphra, and he just sticks a little needle in there and is basically like, you can't do anything about it, no one's going to even know how you died because it looks like you got a heart attack kind of thing. That was pretty fun. I mean, of course, this is going to be a funny comic with BT and 000 in there. Plus, Aphra has a great sense of humor when she was like, hey, look, it's a Death Star, and it made all those people look, and then she was able to run kind of thing. That was hilarious. And I did like how we get a look into her past with her father now. We're going to deal with her family about what is going on with the tension between them two. I thought that was really interesting. And like the prequel story really fleshed out a lot about what we know about Dr. Aphra. And in that little prequel story, we did get a little reference to Sana Starros. So might we see her in this series? Probably. But that is going to do it for my little comic book review of Dr. Aphra number 1. What did you guys think of this comic? Let me know in the comment section below. In general, I think this is a great thing for Star Wars and Marvel. This is the first Marvel comic that is basically a new Star Wars character that wasn't in the movies or the TV shows. This is brand new. This character started in Darth Vader, and now she's got her own series. I think that's freaking great. I want to keep seeing more, you know, creative stuff like this for Star Wars. Hopefully we get more out of the original trilogy era, do some sequel trilogy, some Old Republic stuff. But that is going to do it for me, Starrapter. I also have a video of a preview for Rogue One, so make sure you check that out. It basically has everything you need to know about Rogue One, the time period, some of the characters, what you can expect. So that is going to do it for me. Thank you for watching, and may the force be with you always. So did you like the video? Then make sure you rate it a thumbs up, and if you did that, go over there, hit that Starrapter head to subscribe to my channel. Doing so will keep you up to speed on all of my latest content. Speaking of which, you can see a couple of my recent uploads down below. I'm also on social media, so what are you waiting for? Let's start nerding out.